She had been in a coma for 7 months, until a little boy said this prayer in front of the doctor. Ethan was breathing heavily as he held his sister's cold hand. 7 months had passed since Emily fell down the stairs trying to reach her favorite toy car, and the 7-year-old boy carried a weight no child should bear. It was when the nurse told him the doctors were considering transferring Emily elsewhere that Ethan decided to do something he'd never done before. He knelt beside the hospital bed and began whispering words no one expected to hear. "God, I know it was me who left the toy car up there," the boy murmured, his tears falling onto the white sheet. "Please, don't let Em pay for what I did." From the hallway, Dr. Michael Thompson stopped abruptly at the sound of that trembling voice. After 15 years working at Mercy General Hospital in Denver, he had never witnessed anything so moving. The 42-year-old doctor, known for his scientific rigidity, felt something stir in his chest as he watched the scene. The children's mother, Jessica, didn't know her son had been secretly visiting his sister every day during his school lunch break. She had been working 2 jobs since becoming a widow 2 years ago, desperately trying to cover her daughter's medical expenses. What Jessica also didn't know was that the hospital had already decided to transfer Emily to the public ward due to unpaid bills. Ethan continued his prayer, completely unaware of the doctor now slowly approaching. "I promise I'll be the best brother in the world if she wakes up. I'll share all my toys. I'll let her choose what to watch on TV, and I'll never complain when she touches my stuff again." Dr. Michael swallowed hard. In all his years of medicine, he had learned to keep emotional distance from patients, but something in those simple, honest words broke through his defenses. He remembered his own sister, lost in an accident when they were children, and felt a familiar ache tighten his chest. The boy hadn't realized he was no longer alone in the room. He kept whispering his promises and pleas, each word coming straight from the heart. It was unlike any prayer the doctor had ever heard, not about miracles or divine intervention, but about responsibility, love, and forgiveness. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. "Doctor, shouldn't you be elsewhere?" Nurse Sarah's voice cut through the silence, startling Ethan. "Sorry, doctor." The boy jumped back, eyes wide with fear. "I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just talking to Em." Dr. Michael knelt to the child's level, his expression softer than usual. "No need to apologize, Ethan. Can you tell me how you've been coming here every day without anyone noticing?" The boy hesitated, biting his lower lip. He knew if he told the truth, he might be forbidden from seeing his sister. "Mrs. Jenkins from housekeeping lets me in when she cleans. She knew my dad." Sarah, a seasoned 55-year-old nurse who had worked at the hospital for decades, stepped closer with curiosity. She had noticed strange patterns in Emily's monitors over the past few days, always at the same time, but couldn't explain the readings. "Ethan, have you been coming here every day?" Sarah asked gently. "Only when I can sneak out during lunch. Em likes it when I tell her stories. Sometimes she squeezes my hand. I know she does." Dr. Michael and Sarah exchanged glances. Emily's monitors showed minimal but steady brain activity. Officially, specialists classified her condition as a deep coma with little chance of recovery. But something the boy said piqued Dr. Michael's medical curiosity. "You said she squeezes your hand. When does that happen?" "When I sing the song we made up. She always does it when I sing our song." The doctor felt a chill down his spine. He had studied cases of coma patients responding to familiar stimuli, but Emily's medical team was more focused on freeing up the bed than observing these subtle signs. "Ethan, could you sing that song now?" asked Dr. Michael, his voice filled with cautious hope. The boy looked at his sister, then at the doctor, and nodded shyly. His childlike voice filled the room with a simple, sweet melody. Emily, my dear sister, you're the light of my life. Come back home with me." The moment Ethan sang, Emily's monitors began showing subtle changes. Dr. Michael and Sarah watched in fascination as the girl's heart rate increased slightly, and her brainwaves showed spikes of activity. "My God," Sarah whispered, checking the machines. "Michael, are you seeing this?" The doctor was completely focused on the monitors, What he was witnessing defied everything the medical team had diagnosed about Emily's condition. If what he was seeing was true, the girl wasn't in an irreversible coma, as everyone believed. "Ethan, have you told your mum about Emily's reactions?" "I tried, but she gets really sad when I talk about Em, and Dr. Williams said I was imagining things." Dr. Michael knew Dr. Williams well, the head of the neurology wing. Robert Williams was known for his efficiency in managing beds and resources, but lately, his decisions seemed more administrative than medical. There were rumors about pressure from the board to speed up discharges and transfers for patients consuming too many resources with no hope of improvement. "Sarah, I need to review all of Emily's medical records, and I want you to document everything we just witnessed." The nurse nodded, but her expression showed concern. "Michael, you know how Dr. Williams doesn't like it when we question his assessments. If he finds out we're investigating the case, then he won't know for now," the doctor interrupted, his determination growing. "Ethan, can you do me a very important favor?" The boy nodded eagerly. "I want you to keep visiting your sister, but next time let me know when you're coming. I'll ask Sarah to keep an eye out and call me when you arrive. Can it be our secret for now?" "Do you believe Em can hear me?" "Ethan, after what I just saw, I believe your sister might be much more aware than we thought." As the boy left the room with a shy smile, Dr. Michael began reviewing Emily's tests from the past few months. What he found deeply troubled him. There were inconsistencies in the reports, tests interpreted too pessimistically, and signs of improvement that had been ignored or downplayed. Sarah returned to the room after walking Ethan out. "Michael, there's something you should know. Jessica, their mother, is being pressured by the administration to authorize the transfer. I heard if she doesn't sign the papers by the end of the week, the hospital will request a court evaluation." "Based on what?" Dr. Michael grew increasingly uneasy. "Dr. Williams claims the case is irreversible and that keeping the girl here is a waste of resources. He's preparing a technical report recommending palliative care at a public facility." The doctor felt anger rising in his chest. He had sworn one day to protect life above all else, and now he was watching a colleague manipulate diagnoses for administrative convenience. "Sarah, do you trust me?" "Of course, Michael. I've worked with you for 5 years. Then I need your help to uncover what's really happening here, and we might need to protect this family from decisions that could be irreversible." That night, Dr. Michael took home copies of all of Emily's test results. The more he analyzed them, the more convinced he became that the girl had far greater recovery potential than her diagnosis suggested. There were subtle signs of brain activity that had been dismissed as background noise, reflexes classified as involuntary spasms, and sleep patterns that had been completely overlooked. The next morning, he arrived at the hospital determined to speak with Jessica before she made any irreversible decisions. He found Emily's mother in the hallway, with dark circles under her eyes and the look of someone who hadn't slept in months. "Mrs. Jessica, I'm Dr. Michael Thompson. Could we talk about your daughter?" The 32-year-old woman eyed him warily. For the past few months, conversations with doctors had always meant bad news or demands. "If this is about payment, doctor, I'm doing my best. I'm working 2 jobs and—" "This isn't about money," Dr. Michael interrupted gently. "It's about Emily's medical condition. I believe there are important things that need to be re-evaluated." Jessica followed him to a private room, where Dr. Michael carefully explained his observations about her daughter's reactions to her brother's presence. As he spoke, he saw hope rekindle in the tired mother's eyes. "Doctor, does this mean she could wake up? It means she might be far more aware than we thought, and that perhaps we were too quick to label her condition as irreversible." Tears began to stream down Jessica's face. "Dr. Williams said I was fooling myself, that it would be better for everyone if I accepted reality. Jessica, as a mother, you have the right to seek a second opinion, and as a doctor I have an obligation to investigate any sign of improvement in my patient. But doctor, even if she can recover, I can't afford private treatment much longer. I've already sold everything I could." Dr. Michael took a deep breath. He knew he was getting more involved than he should, but he couldn't ignore his medical and human instincts. Leave that to me for now. I want to run some new tests on Emily, and I want Ethan to keep visiting her, but now officially with medical supervision. That afternoon, when Ethan arrived for his daily visit, he found Dr. Michael waiting in the room with additional monitoring equipment. Sarah was also there, with a clipboard full of forms. Ethan, today we're going to try an experiment. I want you to do exactly what you always do. Talk to your sister, tell her stories, sing your song. But this time, I'll be observing all her vital signs. The boy settled into the chair beside the bed and began his daily routine. He talked about school, his friends, how much he missed his sister. When he started singing the song they'd made up together, the monitors immediately showed the same changes Dr. Michael had observed the day before. Sarah, are you documenting everything? Every detail, Michael. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. But it was when Ethan held his sister's hand and repeated the words of their prayer that something extraordinary happened. The monitors displayed a spike in brain activity that couldn't be ignored or downplayed. Emily was responding consistently and measurably to her brother's stimuli. "Ethan," said Dr. Michael with emotion in his voice, "I think your sister really can hear you." "I always knew, Doctor. She's listened to me from the very first day." At that moment, Dr. Michael made a decision that would change his career and that family's life. He was going to challenge the established protocol and fight for Emily's recovery, no matter the political consequences at the hospital. But what he didn't know was that his actions had already caught the attention of people who didn't want the case questioned. The next morning, Dr. Michael received a summons to an urgent meeting with the hospital administration. "Dr. Thompson," said the administrative director, Mr. Richard Blackwell, "we've been informed that you're questioning finalized medical evaluations and creating unnecessary expectations for a family already in a fragile state. I'm fulfilling my medical duty to reassess a patient showing signs of improvement. The signs you mentioned were already evaluated by Dr. Williams, our senior specialist. He concluded they're just involuntary reflexes with no clinical significance." Dr. Michael maintained his professional composure, but inside his indignation grew. "Mr. Blackwell, I formally request a medical board to review the case. It's my right as the attending physician." "Dr. Thompson, I must remind you that your position here is as a junior doctor. Questioning senior specialists could be interpreted as insubordination." The threat was clear, but Dr. Michael didn't back down. "Then let it be interpreted that way. I won't allow a child to be harmed by administrative decisions disguised as medicine." Leaving the meeting, Dr. Michael knew he'd declared war on a system that prioritized efficiency over patient care. But he also knew he couldn't live with himself if he didn't fight for Emily. Sarah was waiting for him in the hallway, her expression worried. "Michael, I need to tell you something important. I found out Dr. Williams wasn't the only one evaluating the girl. There's an external consultant who's been coming to the hospital and influencing transfer decisions." "What kind of consultant?" "A hospital resource management specialist. She has access to medical records and sits in on meetings about long-term cases." Dr. Michael felt a chill. Management consultants shouldn't have access to confidential medical information, much less influence clinical decisions. "Sarah, do you know this consultant's name?" "Dr. Victoria Hamilton. She specializes in hospital bed optimization." The name sounded familiar to Dr. Michael, but he couldn't place where he'd heard it before. He decided to dig deeper, starting with the hospital system's access logs. Meanwhile, Ethan continued his daily visits, now officially accompanied by Sarah. The nurse was increasingly convinced that Emily's reactions were real and meaningful. She'd worked with many coma patients over the years and had never seen such consistent response patterns. "Ethan, does your mother know about these new findings?" Sarah asked during one visit. "She knows Dr. Michael is taking better care of Em, but she's been really worried because some people came to our house." "What people?" "A fancy lady who said she knew my dad. She wants to talk to Mum about Em, but Mum doesn't want to speak with her." Sarah felt a warning bell go off in her mind. Over the years, she'd seen vulnerable families approached by people taking advantage of difficult situations. "Ethan, Do you remember that lady's name? She said she was Grandma Victoria something, but Mom got really mad and told her to leave. Sarah nearly dropped her clipboard. Victoria. The consultant who had access to the medical records was named Victoria Hamilton, and now she discovered that this same person was trying to make direct contact with Emily's family. She immediately went to Dr. Michael to share her findings. Michael, I think we've uncovered something very serious. The consultant, Victoria Hamilton, tried to contact the children's mother directly, introducing herself as their grandmother. That doesn't make sense. Why would a hospital management consultant pretend to be a patient's relative? Unless she isn't really a consultant. Dr. Michael stopped what he was doing and stared at Sarah. Are you suggesting someone is infiltrating the hospital? I'm suggesting that personal interests might be disguised as medical decisions. That night, Dr. Michael decided to investigate Victoria Hamilton's identity more deeply. Using the hospital's resources, he discovered she was indeed registered as a hospital management consultant, but her company had only been registered 6 months prior. Before that, there were no professional records of her anywhere. Even more intriguing was the fact that she only worked on specific cases, never general hospital efficiency evaluations. It seemed Victoria personally chose which patients to assess. The next morning, Dr. Michael asked to speak with Jessica again. This time he wanted to better understand who this mysterious Victoria was and why she was interested in the family. Jessica, I need you to tell me everything about this woman who came to your house. Doctor, it was very strange. She said she knew my husband and wanted to help with Emily's expenses, but when I asked how she knew about the accident, she couldn't give a clear answer. Did she mention any family relation? She said she was my husband's aunt, but that's impossible. Mark was an only child and his parents have passed. There's no Aunt Victoria in the family. Dr. Michael felt he was starting to unravel something far more complex than a simple medical issue. Jessica, did you keep her card or any contact information? She didn't leave a card, just said she'd come back. Doctor, is something wrong with all this? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. For now, if she returns, don't sign anything and call me immediately. Dr. Michael knew he needed help investigating Victoria Hamilton without raising suspicions at the hospital. He decided to reach out to Sarah, who had contacts at other hospitals in the city and could make discreet inquiries. Sarah, I need you to check if this Victoria has worked at other hospitals, but be discreet. I've already started looking into it, Michael, and I found something interesting. She worked at Good Samaritan Medical Center for the past 2 years, always with coma or vegetative state patients. And what happened to those patients? They were all transferred to long-term public or private facilities, and after that, she received a commission for successful consultations. Dr. Michael felt a knot in his stomach. He was beginning to suspect Victoria Hamilton wasn't just a consultant, but someone who profited from transferring vulnerable patients. Sarah, do you think she could be getting paid by private institutions to identify patients for transfer? It's possible. There are private clinics that take long-term patients and bill high amounts to insurance without providing proper care. That afternoon, when Ethan arrived for his daily visit, Dr. Michael decided to talk to him about the mysterious Victoria. Ethan, your mother told me about a woman who came to your house. Did you see her? Yeah, I did, Doctor. She was in a really nice car and wore expensive clothes, but she scared me. Why did she scare you? She asked things about Em that only family should know. And when I said that Em would wake up because I pray for her every day, she laughed in a nasty way. Dr. Michael exchanged glances with Sarah. Each new detail confirmed their suspicions that Victoria had ulterior motives involving the family. Ethan, if she comes back to the house, can you call me? Dr. Michael handed his card to the boy. Of course, Doctor. Will you protect Em from her? I'll protect both of you. You can trust me. That night, Dr. Michael received an unexpected call at home. It was Jessica, speaking in a panicked tone. Doctor, she's back. Victoria is here at the house and she brought some papers. She says if I don't sign them, the hospital will sue our family. Jessica, don't sign anything. I'm on my way right now. Dr. Michael drove as fast as he could to Jessica's address. It was a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood of Denver. When he arrived, he found Victoria Hamilton sitting in the living room, holding a folder full of documents. "Dr. Thompson," Victoria said with a cold smile, "what a surprise to see you here." "The surprise is mine, Mrs. Hamilton. A hospital consultant making house calls isn't very common. I'm just helping a struggling family understand their options." Dr. Michael quickly examined the documents Victoria had brought. They were transfer forms to a private clinic, specializing in long-term care. "Jessica, these documents completely transfer Emily's medical responsibility to a private institution. Once signed, you lose the right to make decisions about your daughter's treatment." "Dr. Thompson," Victoria interrupted, "Mrs. Jessica is aware that keeping the girl at Mercy General Hospital is becoming financially unfeasible." "And who said you have the authority to make that decision?" Victoria hesitated for a moment, revealing her first sign of nervousness. "I'm working with the hospital administration to find the best solution for everyone involved, including the clinic that will take Emily. I imagine you get a nice commission for every patient transferred." Victoria's face hardened. "Dr. Thompson, I suggest you focus on your specialty and leave administrative matters to the appropriate professionals. My specialty is the well-being of my patients, and that includes protecting them from people who want to profit from their suffering." Jessica looked back and forth, trying to understand what was happening. "Doctor, what does she really want?" "She wants you to sign papers, transferring your daughter to a clinic where she gets a commission. And once there, Emily will be forgotten, with no real chance of recovery." Victoria stood abruptly, gathering the papers. "Mrs. Jessica, you have until tomorrow to make a decision. After that, the hospital will take the necessary legal action." "What legal action?" asked Dr. Michael. "The hospital can request a judicial review of the mother's ability to make proper decisions about her daughter's treatment." After Victoria left, Dr. Michael explained the whole situation he had uncovered to Jessica. Emily's mother was shocked to learn she had been targeted in a fraudulent transfer scheme. "Doctor, what can I do? I don't have money for lawyers." "Jessica, first we'll handle the medical issue. Emily is showing real signs of improvement, and I have documentation to prove it. Second, I'll find pro bono legal help for you." Dr. Michael spent the night planning his strategy. The next morning, he arrived at the hospital determined to expose Victoria Hamilton's scheme. But when he reached Emily's room, he found Dr. Williams there, conducting a routine evaluation. "Dr. Thompson, come here. I need to discuss some protocols with you." "Of course, Dr. Williams. I heard you've been questioning some recent medical evaluations. As a senior physician, I need to remind you that complex clinical decisions require experience and professional maturity. Dr. Williams, with all due respect, I have documentation showing that the patient Emily is consistently responding to familiar stimuli. This suggests a greater recovery potential than diagnosed." "Dr. Thompson, involuntary reflexes are common in comatose patients. Giving false hope to vulnerable families is unethical. Then I suggest you personally review the documentation I've prepared and perhaps explain why an external consultant has access to your patient's records." Dr. Williams stopped mid-sentence, his expression completely shifting. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about Victoria Hamilton, who presents herself as a management consultant but makes home visits trying to pressure families into signing transfers." "Dr. Thompson, I think you'd better be very careful with serious accusations like these." "These aren't accusations, Dr. Williams. They're documented facts." At that moment, Sarah entered the room with an urgent expression. "Dr. Michael, I need to speak with you immediately." "Excuse me, Dr. Williams." Sarah led Dr. Michael to a corner of the hallway. "Michael, I've discovered something crucial about Victoria Hamilton. She's not just a consultant. She's a partner in a private clinic that takes long-term patients. That confirms our suspicions. But there's more. Her clinic has partnerships with insurers to receive maximum payments for patients who will never improve. It's a well-organized scheme. Sarah, we need to document everything and take it to the hospital administration. Michael, I think part of the administration already knows. Last night, I saw Mr. Blackwell talking to Victoria in the parking lot." Dr. Michael realized the situation was far more serious than he'd imagined. He wasn't just dealing with a case of medical malpractice, but an organized scheme involving multiple people within the hospital itself. Sarah, we need to protect Emily and her family, and we have to do it today before it's too late. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. That afternoon, Dr. Michael made a risky decision. He gathered all the documentation he'd collected about Emily's reactions and sought outside help. He knew a lawyer specializing in medical rights who could guide them on how to proceed. But first, he wanted to conduct one final test with Emily, this time using more sophisticated equipment to definitively document her responsiveness. When Ethan arrived for his daily visit, Dr. Michael explained the plan. Ethan, today we're going to do a special test. I want you to do everything as you always do, but I'll use equipment that can show exactly how Emily's brain responds when you talk to her. Will it hurt her, doctor? No, Ethan. It's like taking a picture of her brain working. Dr. Michael had secured permission to use a portable electroencephalograph, a device that could measure brain activity in real time. He knew that if he could document specific brain responses to Ethan's interactions, he'd have irrefutable evidence of Emily's awareness. The boy settled beside his sister and began his usual routine. He told her about his day at school, his friends, and how everyone was sending hugs her way. When he started singing the song they'd made together, the results on the electroencephalograph surpassed all expectations. Sarah, do you see this? Dr. Michael whispered, pointing to the brainwaves on the screen. Michael, those are gamma waves. That indicates conscious cognitive processing. The doctor felt his heart race. Gamma waves in the brain indicated not only that Emily was conscious, but actively processing the information she was receiving. Ethan, now I want you to hold your sister's hand and repeat those words you said on the first day I met you. The boy nodded and gently took Emily's hand. Em, I'm so sorry for leaving the toy car on the stairs. It was my fault you fell, but I'll take care of you always until you get better again. The exact moment Ethan spoke those words, something extraordinary happened. Beyond the intense brain waves on the electroencephalogram, an almost imperceptible movement appeared in Emily's fingers. Sarah noticed it first. Michael, look at her hand. Dr. Michael looked at Emily's hand and saw her fingers twitching slightly, as if trying to squeeze her brother's hand. Ethan, did you feel that? I did, Doctor. She always does this when I apologize. I think she wants to forgive me. Tears began to stream down Dr. Michael's face. In 15 years of medicine, he had never witnessed something so touching and scientifically significant at the same time. Sarah, record everything, every second of this interaction. I've been recording from the start, Michael. But the emotion of the moment was interrupted by the abrupt entrance of Dr. Williams into the room, accompanied by Victoria Hamilton and 2 hospital security guards. Dr. Thompson, what's happening here? Dr. Williams asked in an authoritative tone. I'm documenting neurological responses from the patient that indicate preserved consciousness. Without approval from medical supervision, this is a serious protocol violation. Victoria approached the equipment, examining the results. Dr. Williams, these tests aren't valid without the presence of a certified neurologist. Dr. Michael maintained his professional composure, but inside he burned with indignation. Dr. Hamilton, may I ask what your medical qualifications are to assess neurological exams? I'm an accredited consultant in hospital resource management. That doesn't give you the authority to interpret medical tests. Dr. Williams quickly intervened. Dr. Thompson, I need you to turn off the equipment immediately, and you, he pointed at Ethan, shouldn't be here outside visiting hours. Ethan has medical authorization for supervised visits, Dr. Michael replied. Authorization I've just revoked. Security, please escort the boy out. Sarah positioned herself between the guards and Ethan. Dr. Williams, this boy isn't causing any trouble. On the contrary, his presence has been beneficial for the patient. Nurse Sarah, I suggest you focus on your assigned duties. Ethan looked at Dr. Michael with frightened eyes. Doctor, did I do something wrong? No, Ethan, you didn't do anything wrong. Go home now, but come back tomorrow at the usual time. I'll sort this out. After Ethan left with the security guards, Victoria approached Dr. Michael. Dr. Thompson, you're interfering with a legally established administrative process. The family has already been properly informed of their options. Dr. Hamilton, the family was pressured by someone falsely presenting themselves as a relative with financial interests in the transfers. Those are very serious accusations, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Williams interrupted. Accusations I can document, and which I intend to bring to the proper authorities. Victoria and Dr. Williams exchanged worried glances. Dr. Thompson, Victoria said, perhaps you don't fully understand the situation. This family is in an unsustainable financial position. We're offering a solution that allows continued care without the financial burden. A solution that primarily benefits your private clinic, where patients like Emily are forgotten with no real chance of rehabilitation. Dr. Thompson, your comments are bordering on slander, Victoria threatened. Then sue me, but I won't allow you to profit from a child's suffering. Dr. Williams stepped in before the argument escalated further. Dr. Thompson, you are suspended from your duties until further notice. Hand over your badge and leave the hospital immediately. Dr. Williams, you can't suspend me without an administrative hearing. I can, and I just did. Insubordination, protocol violations, and interference in administrative processes are grounds for immediate suspension. Michael knew he had lost this battle, but not the war. He surrendered his badge, but before leaving, he recorded a voice message for Sarah. Sarah, keep documenting everything, and contact me if they try anything with Emily. That night, Dr. Thompson met with Jessica at her home to plan their next steps. Also present was attorney Dr. Mark Peterson, a specialist in medical rights, whom Michael had contacted earlier that day. Dr. Thompson showed me all the documentation you've gathered, Dr. Peterson said. The case is strong, but we're up against opponents with resources and influence. Doctor, what does this mean for my daughter? Jessica asked. It means we have enough evidence to challenge any forced transfer decision, but we need to act fast. Michael explained the test results he had obtained from Emily. Jessica, your daughter isn't in an irreversible coma. She's conscious and responsive. With proper therapy and specialized care, she has a real chance at significant recovery. Then why do they want to transfer her? Because at Victoria's clinic, she'd just be another forgotten patient generating perpetual revenue. Here at the hospital, she uses resources and could improve, meaning less profit for their scheme. Dr. Peterson reviewed the documents Michael had prepared. We have a strong case, but we need more evidence of Victoria Hamilton's fraudulent practices. And we must protect Emily from any immediate transfer. How do we do that? Jessica asked. We'll file for an injunction to block any transfer until the case is heard, and we'll report Victoria's scheme to the health authorities. Michael felt relieved to have competent legal help, but worried about what might happen to Emily while he was suspended. Dr. Peterson, how long do we have before they can force a transfer? Legally, they need to give 72 hours notice to the family, but if we get the injunction tomorrow morning, we'll buy enough time to build our case. That night, Michael barely slept. He was worried about Emily, Ethan, and the potential backlash for challenging a scheme involving powerful hospital figures. The next morning, as Dr. Peterson prepared the legal paperwork, Michael received a frantic call from Sarah. Michael, they're trying to transfer Emily today. Victoria arrived early with an ambulance and is pressuring Jessica to sign the papers. That's illegal. They can't transfer her without notice. They're claiming a medical emergency, saying Emily deteriorated overnight. Sarah, that's a lie. Were you on duty last night? No, but I spoke to the nurse who was. Emily was stable all night, no changes. Panic set in. If Victoria succeeded in transferring Emily before the injunction was filed, reversing the situation would be much harder. Sarah, buy us time. Tell Jessica she needs to consult a lawyer before signing anything. Michael, Jessica isn't here. She was urgently called into work. Victoria is trying to get Ethan's signature, claiming he can authorize it in an emergency. This is absurd. A 7-year-old child can't authorize anything. Michael, you need to come here. I don't know how long I can hold the situation. Dr. Michael called Dr. Peterson immediately, explaining the urgency. Dr. Peterson, they're trying to push through the transfer now using coercion tactics. Michael, I'll go to court right now to get an emergency injunction, but you need to buy time until I get the documents. Dr. Michael drove as fast as he could to the hospital, knowing he couldn't enter officially due to his suspension, but determined to protect Emily and Ethan. When he arrived in the parking lot, he saw an ambulance parked at the emergency entrance. His heart raced. Victoria was really trying to speed up the transfer. He entered the hospital through the service entrance, where he knew some staff who could help him reach Emily's room without being detected by security. Mrs. Jenkins, the cleaning lady who had always helped Ethan, spotted him first. "Dr. Michael, thank goodness you're here. There's a terrible commotion in the girls' room." "Mrs. Jenkins, can you take me there without security seeing me?" "Of course, doctor, come this way." When they neared Emily's room, Dr. Michael heard raised voices. He recognized Sarah's voice, clearly arguing with someone. "Mrs. Jenkins, stay here. If anyone asks, you didn't see me." Dr. Michael approached the room and saw a scene that made him furious. Victoria was trying to pressure Ethan, who looked visibly scared and confused, into signing documents he clearly didn't understand. "Ethan, you want to help your sister, don't you?" Victoria said in a falsely sweet tone. "Just make an X right here on this paper." "But I want to wait for my mom," the boy answered, tears in his eyes. "Your mother already agreed. She asked me to have you sign because she can't leave work." Sarah tried to intervene. "Ms. Victoria, legally, a child can't authorize medical transfers. Nurse, in emergencies, the family can assign responsibilities." Dr. Michael couldn't take it anymore and stepped into the room. "Ethan, don't sign anything." Everyone turned to him in surprise. "Dr. Thompson," Victoria said, "you shouldn't be here. You're suspended. And you shouldn't be coercing a child into signing legal documents." Dr. Michael knelt to Ethan's level. "Ethan, you don't have to sign anything. Your mum didn't ask for this, and you're not obligated to authorize anything." "Doctor," she said, "Em has to go somewhere else today, or she might..." "Might what, Ethan?" The boy glanced at Victoria, who gestured for him to stop. "She said Em might stop breathing if she isn't transferred today." Dr. Michael felt his anger rise to a dangerous level. Victoria was using the fear of losing his sister to manipulate a child. "Ethan, that's not true. Your sister is fine and doesn't need to be transferred." "Dr. Thompson," Victoria cut in, "you're no longer authorized to give medical opinions on this patient. And you were never authorized to coerce minors." At that moment, Dr. Peterson entered the room with documents and 2 court officers. "Dr. Victoria Hamilton, I have here a court order preventing any transfer of patient Emily Johnson pending a final judicial decision." Victoria took the documents with a look of shock and anger. "This is outrageous. This transfer is for legitimate medical reasons." "Dr. Hamilton," one of the officers said, "you're also being notified of an investigation into improper patient transfer practices." Dr. Michael hugged Ethan, who was shaking with fear and confusion. "It's okay now, Ethan. Your sister will stay here and receive the proper treatment." But Victoria hadn't given up. "Dr. Peterson, this injunction is based on false information. The patient's medical condition requires immediate transfer." "Dr. Hamilton, the injunction was granted based on documented medical evidence from a qualified physician. Any violation will be considered contempt of court." Legally defeated, Victoria left the room with an expression that promised the battle was far from over. After everyone else had gone, Dr. Michael, Sarah, Dr. Peterson and Ethan remained in the room with Emily. The boy approached his sister, still shaken by the traumatic experience. "Em, I'm sorry I got confused, but Dr. Michael and Dr. Peterson will take care of you." Then, to everyone's surprise, something unexpected happened. Emily slowly opened her eyes, blinked a few times, and whispered a nearly inaudible word. "Ethan." The room fell completely silent. Sarah quickly checked the monitors, Dr. Michael stepped closer to the patient, and Ethan held his sister's hand with tears of joy. "Em, can you hear me?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. Emily nodded almost imperceptibly and lightly squeezed her brother's hand. Dr. Michael felt tears streaming down his face. After months of struggle, he was finally witnessing the medical miracle he had always believed possible. "Sarah, document everything and call the neurology team immediately." "Dr. Peterson," Dr. Michael said, "I think our case just got a lot stronger." In the following hours, Emily showed increasing signs of awareness. She recognized familiar voices, responded to simple commands, and demonstrated she was processing information from her surroundings. When Jessica arrived at the hospital and saw her daughter awake, her joyful cries echoed through the halls. Months of anguish and fear turned into renewed hope. "My daughter, my love, you've come back," Jessica whispered, kissing Emily's forehead. "Mom," Emily replied in a weak but clear voice. Dr. Michael watched the family reunion with deep satisfaction. He had risked his career to protect that family, and now he saw that every effort had been worth it. In the days that followed, the investigation into Victoria Hamilton revealed a complex scheme of fraudulent transfers involving several people within the hospital. Dr. Williams was suspended after it was discovered he had falsified medical reports in exchange for financial benefits. Dr. Michael was reinstated at the hospital with a promotion to head of neurology, a position he accepted with a commitment to implement stricter protocols for protecting vulnerable patients. Emily began an intensive physical therapy and rehabilitation program. Though her recovery was gradual and required great effort, every small improvement was celebrated as a victory by the family. Ethan no longer carried the weight of guilt he had felt over his sister's accident. Emily, once she regained more ability to communicate, explained she had never blamed her brother for what happened. The accident was just that, an accident. "Ethan, you've been the best brother in the world all these months," Emily said during a therapy session. "Your visits and your prayers gave me the strength to come back." The Johnson family's story became known in the medical community as an example of how persistence and family love can be just as important as traditional medical treatments. Dr. Michael developed a special protocol for coma patients that included active family participation in the rehabilitation process. The Ethan Protocol, as it became informally known, was implemented in other hospitals across the region. Sarah received an award as Nurse of the Year for her dedication to documenting and protecting patient rights. She continued working in neurology, now under Dr. Michael's supervision. Dr. Peterson specialized in medical rights cases and began offering pro bono services to families in situations similar to the Johnsons. Victoria Hamilton was prosecuted for multiple charges related to medical fraud and coercive practices. Her private clinic was shut down after investigations revealed systematic negligence in the care of long-term patients. 6 months after Emily woke up, she could already walk with assistance and had returned to part-time school activities. Her recovery wasn't complete. She still faced some motor and memory challenges, but she surpassed all medical expectations. Ethan, now 8 years old, had matured greatly through the whole experience, but kept his loving and protective nature toward his sister. He often accompanied Emily to physical therapy sessions, offering encouragement and companionship. Jessica secured a better job at the hospital itself, in the administrative department, which allowed her to follow her daughter's treatment more closely and spend more time with the children. The family moved to a larger apartment near the hospital, using part of the compensation money they received from the lawsuit against Victoria and her clinic. Dr. Michael frequently visited the family on weekends, having developed a special bond with the children. Ethan considered him a hero, and Emily saw him as the doctor who believed in her when everyone else had given up. One Sunday afternoon, nearly a year after Emily woke up, Dr. Michael found the siblings playing in the backyard. Ethan was teaching Emily a new version of the song they used to sing at the hospital. "Dr. Michael," Ethan shouted when he saw him arrive, "come listen to the new song we made for Em." The doctor sat on the grass and listened as the siblings sang together. The simple lyrics spoke of never giving up, the power of sibling love, and how hope can overcome any obstacle. As he listened, Dr. Michael reflected on how this experience had not only changed the Johnson family's life, but also his own perspective on medicine. He had learned that sometimes the most powerful treatments don't come from medications or surgeries, but from love, persistence, and refusing to accept limitations imposed by others. "Dr. Michael," Emily said when they finished singing, "thank you for never giving up on me." "Emily, the one who never gave up was your brother. I was just lucky enough to be there to listen. Ethan smiled shyly. Doctor, do you think our story can help other families? Ethan, I think your story is already helping. Other doctors are learning to listen to families and not give up on patients so easily. That evening, Dr. Michael returned home with a heart full of gratitude. He had begun this journey as a doctor following protocols, but had become someone who understood that medicine goes far beyond diagnoses and treatments. Jessica prepared a special dinner to celebrate the first anniversary of Emily's awakening. The whole family was gathered, including Dr. Michael, Sarah, Dr. Peterson, and even Mrs. Jenkins, who had become like a grandmother to the children. During dinner, Ethan asked to make a toast. I want to thank God for bringing our family back together, and I want to thank Dr. Michael for believing in my prayers. Ethan, Dr. Michael replied, your prayers were heard long before I arrived. I was just privileged to witness a miracle. Dr. Michael, Emily said, you always call it a miracle, but I remember everything. I remember your visits, your talks with Sarah, your efforts to protect me. The miracle was the good people God placed in our path. The table fell into an emotional silence. Each person present had been touched by that journey in a unique way. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. Emily, do you know your recovery changed how we all see our work? Now we pay more attention to the signs patients might be giving. And I learned, added Dr. Peterson, that sometimes the most important justice isn't in the courts, but in standing up for those who can't defend themselves. Mrs. Jenkins, who rarely spoke much, shared her simple wisdom. I always knew that boy had a special heart. When someone loves that much, love always finds a way. As the evening went on, Dr. Michael watched the family that had become so important in his life. Ethan helped Emily with her at-home physical therapy, and Jessica smiled in a way he hadn't seen during the difficult months at the hospital. Before leaving, Dr. Michael had a private talk with Ethan in the backyard. Ethan, you know you've grown so much through all this, right? Dr. Michael, do you think if I hadn't prayed every day, Em would have woken up anyway? Ethan, I believe your prayers were essential, not just because of any spiritual power they might have had, but because they showed all of us how much you loved your sister, and that love inspired everyone to fight harder. So prayers really do work. They work in many ways, Ethan. Sometimes by changing situations, sometimes by changing people, and sometimes by giving strength to keep going when everything seems lost. The boy nodded, processing the answer with his early maturity. Dr. Michael, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor like you. Ethan, you can be anything you want, but if you choose to be a doctor, promise me one thing? What? Promise you'll always listen to patients and their families, even when others tell you not to. I promise, Dr. Michael. 2 years later, Emily had regained about 85% of her motor and cognitive abilities. She still faced some challenges, but lived a practically normal life for a child her age. Ethan became known at school as the boy who saved his sister with prayers. A story he told humbly, but one that inspired classmates and teachers alike. Dr. Michael was promoted to medical director of the hospital and implemented several reforms that made Mercy General a benchmark for compassionate care. The Ethan Protocol was officially adopted and became a model for other hospitals. Sarah became a nursing supervisor and developed training programs on the importance of observing subtle signs in critical patients. Dr. Peterson opened a law firm specializing in medical rights and always set aside time for pro bono cases, inspired by his experience with the Johnson family. Victoria Hamilton served time for her fraudulent practices and upon release moved out of state, leaving the medical field entirely. Dr. Williams lost his medical license permanently and could never practice again. Victoria's fraudulent clinic was converted into a free rehabilitation center for low-income families, partly funded by money recovered from the illegal scheme. Jessica graduated as a nursing assistant through a hospital scholarship program and began working in the same ward where her daughter had been treated, helping other families facing similar situations. At a special hospital ceremony, Dr. Michael received an award for his contributions to compassionate medicine. In his speech, he told Ethan and Emily's story, explaining how a child's simple prayer had changed his understanding of medicine. Medicine, he said, isn't just about curing diseases. It's about preserving human dignity, protecting the vulnerable, and never giving up hope, even when protocols suggest otherwise. In the audience, Ethan, now 10 years old, listened proudly. Emily, 9, stood beside him, walking without assistance and smiling brightly. After the ceremony, a local TV reporter asked to interview the family. Ethan, still shy but more confident now, answered the question about what he had learned from the entire experience. "I learned that when you truly love someone, you can never give up. And sometimes adults need children to remind them of important things." "What would you say to other kids going through tough situations?" the reporter asked. "That it's important to never stop believing, and that there's always someone good willing to help, even when it seems like there isn't." Emily also wanted to speak. "I want to say that even when you're sick and can't move or talk, you can still feel people's love. My brother's love gave me the strength to come back." The interview aired nationally and sparked hundreds of supportive messages and similar stories from other families who had faced comparable challenges. Dr. Michael received invitations to speak at medical conferences about the importance of family involvement in critical patient care. His presentations always included a video of Ethan's first prayer in Emily's hospital room, which he had discreetly recorded on that historic day. At one such conference, a doctor in the audience asked how he knew when to trust his intuition over established protocols. "The answer," Dr. Michael said, "is that we must always do both. Following protocols is essential to ensure standardized and safe care. But we must also keep our eyes, ears, and hearts open to signs the protocols might miss." "And how do we develop that sensitivity?" another doctor asked. "By listening. Listening to our patients, their families, our nursing staff, and our own conscience. And having the courage to question when something doesn't feel right, even if it's uncomfortable." 3 years after Emily's awakening, the Johnson family began hosting an annual celebration for what they called Miracle Day. The gathering always took place at the hospital, in the same room where Emily had woken up, now repurposed as a family meeting space. Dr. Michael never missed the celebration, attending alongside Sarah, Dr. Peterson, Mrs. Jenkins, and many others touched by their story. At the third celebration, Ethan, now 11, had prepared a special surprise. He had written a letter for every person who had helped his family. "Dr. Michael," Ethan said, handing him a carefully written note, "this one's for you." Dr. Michael opened the letter and read aloud, "Dear Dr. Michael, thank you for listening to my prayers when everyone else thought I was just imagining things. You taught me it's never wrong to believe what you feel in your heart, even when others don't understand. Because of you, my sister is here with me today. Because of you, our family is whole again. When I grow up and become a doctor, I'll always remember to listen to kids because sometimes they know important things adults forget. Thank you for never giving up on us. With love and gratitude, Ethan." Dr. Michael had to pause for a moment to steady his emotions. When he regained his composure, he looked at Ethan and said, "Ethan, you're the one who taught me to never give up. It was your faith and love that saved your sister and changed all of us." Emily stepped forward and hugged Dr. Michael. "Dr. Michael, you know you're like an uncle to us, right?" "Emily, you're like family to me too." Jessica watched the scene with tears of gratitude in her eyes. There were moments during those difficult months at the hospital when she thought she would lose everything. Now, looking at her happy and healthy children, surrounded by people who loved them, she felt she had gained far more than she ever imagined possible. "Dr. Michael," Jessica said, "how can I thank you for everything you've done for our family? Jessica, just let me be part of your lives. That's the greatest thanks I could ever receive." As the celebration continued, Dr. Michael reflected on how this experience had redefined his understanding of medicine, family, and the power of hope. He remembered that first day when he heard Ethan praying beside Emily's hospital bed. Back then, he had just been a doctor following protocols. Now, he was someone who understood that sometimes the greatest miracles in medicine happen when we combine science with compassion, protocols with humanity. Sarah approached Dr. Michael during the party. "Michael, did you know we've implemented the Ethan protocol in 15 more hospitals across the region?" I didn't. How's it working? We're documenting significant improvements in critical patients' recovery when there's structured family involvement. Ethan's story is literally saving other lives, Doctor. Michael smiled, knowing this family's legacy would extend far beyond their own recovery. Sarah, this reminds me why we became healthcare professionals in the first place. To heal, to care. Healing is the result of caring well. At the end of the party, as had become tradition, Ethan and Emily sang together the song they had written during their difficult days in the hospital. But now the lyrics had been updated to include verses about gratitude, hope, and extended family. As he listened to the siblings sing, Dr. Michael thought about all the lessons he had learned from this family. He had learned that medicine goes far beyond diagnoses and treatments. He had learned that sometimes the youngest patients are the wisest teachers. And he had learned that when someone prays with true love, those prayers are always answered. Maybe not in the way we expect, but always in a way that brings growth and healing. The end. What did you think of little Ethan's determination to never give up on his sister? Do you believe love and persistence can truly make a difference in complex medical situations? Share in the comments which part of the story moved you the most, and if you've ever experienced something similar. Leave a like if this story touched your heart, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.